figured out how to use a microphone on my phone. I have brought two because I thought it was originally my microphone's issue. Even though it's a good quality one, I thought it was its issue. So I started to beef with it and I got annoyed. Therefore, I now got rid of it. Well, I didn't get rid of it. It's currently on my camera, which is filming me. And I went to Kmart, don't know why Kmart, and I brought a $15 one because I thought my $15 one would be a lot better than my hundreds of dollar microphone. But hey, shit happens, and it wasn't. So now I'm stuck here using my phone to record this podcast still. It's kind of comforting though. It feels like I'm talking to someone even though no one is in the room with me. I am kind of scared. Oh my God, my mum just texted me saying that she loves the podcast. Hi, Mum. That is so embarrassing, guys. Now I have to be careful what I post. I can't tell raunchy stories. I gotta be on my best behavior. Who knows who's listening? But no. Okay. Actually, on this topic of podcast, I wanted to start out with dating stories. I know we all love some good dating stories, and I have one in particular that I love to tell, which is my horror dating story. And when I say horror dating, I don't mean the person was an asshole and horrible, rude, all this stuff. Actually, no, I do have one like that, and I'll tell that one afterwards. It was very weird, actually. Maybe I'll start off with telling that one. No, I'm going to start off with telling that one. So this one was before I knew I was a lesbian. Before I was out of the closet and all that stuff, I went on a date with this guy. First of all, I don't know what I was thinking. The number one rule is to never date a musician, and he was a musician, and I should have known that was a red flag from the start. I don't know where my brain was in all of that, and I spoke to him for a total of a day before I met up with him. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that. That's how you get actually murdered, and that's how you end up in situations that I ended up in with creeps. So don't do that. Basically, we decided to meet up and go for coffee, I believe it was. It was sometime in the morning, so it was a daytime date, which I thought meant that it would probably be a more safer environment. It was it was safe. It was just really freaking weird. So we're walking along the beach side. We were in, I don't remember where exactly it was. It was the Broadwater or something. And we were walking along there and we get a juice. We decide to sit down at this park bench, and oh God, it was so long ago, guys. I can't remember in full detail how it went. But basically, long story short, this guy continued to, I'm pretty sure he was deeply, deeply closeted. He found Narnia. He was that deeply closeted. He proceeded to tell me how he only likes women, but he has, how do you put this? He has sucked on 3 popsicles in his life. And I was like, oh wow. I'm not really sure that's something you tell someone on a first date. I said that in my head, but in person I was kind of too dumbfounded to even say anything. So I was more just oh really? And he was like, yeah. And then he proceeded to tell me all 3 stories. Now, the first one, I think he must have been trauma dumping or something, because he told me how it was, trigger warning, SA, when he was 14. And I was like, oh, okay, that's heavy. How about, are you okay? Do you need a therapist? And then the next one, he told me that it was his mate that he did it with when he was 16. The other guy was 16 as well, but he just told me how they did it multiple times. But he's not gay though. He only likes women. He's not gay. And I was like, interesting. Okay. Right. So you really, really like popsicles, but then you tell me you hate popsicles and you only like Oreos. We'll call them Oreos. I don't know what I'm doing with these insinuations. And he proceeded to tell me how he only liked Oreos and not popsicles. And he was like so adamant about it. He's like, no, like you, I'm not gay. I'm not gay. Like, I really like women. And then he asked me, I don't know why you asked this. There was no social cue for this to happen. There was no nothing. Like, there was no indication for you to even want to touch me. And he asks me if he can grab my bum. We were sitting on a park bench. I was about 18, and he asked to grab my bum. That is probably the most unromantic, unsexy, unlikable thing you can possibly ever do to a woman. That was the moment where I was like, what the actual fuck? And I knew from that moment, I mean, I knew before when he was talking about wanting to suck popsicles and that he was straight, that I needed to get out of there, but that just confirmed it. Then, to make matters worse, he told me about how he fingered a girl in where was it? A forest, I'm pretty sure. It was a forest near the beach. And I was like, interesting, because I didn't actually ask for this story. But he continued. I got all the details and all the information at 10 a.m. on a park bench when I had known this guy for probably max 20 minutes at this point. He had to have some sort of, like, something up, because he was not making sense with the way he was telling the stories and what he was saying. Like, it was kind of really creepy and weird. Like, he wasn't older than me, like, but he was just really weird. Really weird. And he told me that the girl he did that with, he met from Omegle and all this stuff, and told me how he was in love with her. And I was like, oh my God, why did I agree to this date? Like, I don't even like men. What am I doing here? I don't want to hear about this. And pretty much I made up some emergency. I texted my mom for her to call me and say that I needed to go home. I don't think I've ever done that on a date before, but I did that on this one. And I was like, oh my God, Mom, like, I need to be safe. Like, you have to call me. I need to go home. So she did, not because of the text. She actually called me because she was mad at me for something that I'd done that day. I'm pretty sure I just didn't clean something. No, I had to film an audition and I was mucking around because I went on this date instead. And she was unhappy with me. But yeah, basically I called her to save me, and I got saved. I escaped, and I blocked him on everything. And then he found my private account and messaged me on that to then be like, hey, why'd you block me? Look, I don't know if it's just me, but when you block someone, that usually means they don't want to talk to you. So you wouldn't usually reach out to that person that has blocked you. Personally, like, if I get blocked, I probably wouldn't do that. I'm sure I have when I was crazy and it was like an ex or something like that. But usually with someone you've just met for probably max an hour and they block you, you don't reach out. You don't find their other accounts. This is just a PSA for anyone who was thinking of doing that. If you were, don't do it. Please save that person some time and stress, and just don't. Like, distance yourself. Maybe never talk to them again. That's probably the preferred option, actually. Just a PSA. So that was the end of that psycho weird closeted, non-closeted gay straight guy date. And now I'm a lesbian. Well, not now I'm a lesbian. I'm just glad that I'm out of the closet now and don't have to deal with that, because women are so much better. They're actually not. I have a lot of horror stories about women too, that I will indeed spill, because I'm enjoying spilling the tea on this podcast, guys. It's entertaining for all. Now, on to my second horror story date. This is more of like an actual horror story. Not a horror story, but it's more of a, oh my God, I could have actually died kind of horror story. Not a, oh, that guy's in the closet, but he's talking about all this stuff. Actually, he could have been bisexual. I forgot that was a thing. Not biphobic, just saying, like, I just genuinely forgot that you can like both. So back to this horror story date. Me and this girl decided to go for a date to the drive-in movies, and it was probably about like 9 or 10 p.m. when we met up. Honestly, not a good idea either. I don't take dating advice from me ever, because I don't seem to do the best first dates. You'll understand why. So me and this girl decided to meet up, And we go in the one car and we're like, okay, let's try find the drive-in movies. We left my car at the servo and we went in her car to go to the movies. It was around the corner, but it was like in the middle of nowhere because on the Gold Coast, we don't really have drive-in movies like everywhere. We have like one in Yatala. And if you know Yatala, it's like a bunch of cane fields. It's a bunch of cane fields around everywhere. And so we missed the drive-in movie and we're like, fuck, like, what do we do now? So we decide to go explore the cane fields. Sorry, there is a massive truck right now. That is so loud. So we decide to go explore the cane fields. Yeah, not a good idea. Not a good idea. Two young girls in a car exploring cane fields. So we're driving around. It's like 10 o'clock, 10:30, driving around, all happy as can be. Oh, let's see what's down here. We go down this creepy little alleyway, drive, pathway thing. I don't know. The car could go on it. It was a road, but it was some weird property. Like, they were streets, but there was no lights, there was no nothing, and there were a bunch of just cane around us. There was nothing else but cane and roads, like gravel, dirt pathway roads. And as we're driving, we start to kind of hallucinate. Like, we're already starting to, like, really bug out because we're like, oh my God, like, did I just see a person over there? And we're, like, kind of freaking ourselves out, like, a lot. And still to this day, I believe that place was haunted. Like, there was some weird stuff we were seeing. We would, like, see a man, like, getting into a tractor and, like, no one would be there. It was so cooked. And so we're driving along and we see this ute kind of come out of nowhere. And as it's driving, it kind of gets closer to us. Like, it's coming to us, towards us on this road with no lights, no nothing. And as it gets closer to us, it flicks off its headlights. So its headlights are off at this point. And we're like, oh my God, like, what? It's just turned off its headlights. And we started to get really creeped out because we couldn't see it. It was dark. We could only see it because of our headlights. And it goes past us with its headlights off. And we're like, interesting, that's so weird. Like, we didn't know why it did that. And we continue driving. And then the same car, we see it again, the same ute. It was like a silver trayback ute. I don't know how to say it. I think I said that wrong. But it was like this silver ute. And it had turned around and it was following us. And we're like, oh my God, this ute's like turned around now. It's like following us. And it gets kind of close to behind us because we're not exactly going fast, but we're not going slow. Like, we're going average speed, as you should. Don't speed, guys. We are driving and it comes up behind us and it flicks off its lights again. And we're like, oh my God, it's just flicked off its lights again. And we're starting to, like, actually freak out at this point. So we kind of speed up and we try to lose it. We've lost it at this point. And we're kind of just driving around. We're trying to calm ourselves down because we're like, that's so weird. But we weren't thinking too much on it. We did think it was extremely weird how it'd flick off its lights, though. And we're driving for a bit more. It's probably been about 10 minutes at this point. And we come to this intersection and we see this ute pulling into the street where we are. And we're like, oh my God, like, the ute's back. We freak out. We absolutely freak out. And it flicks off its lights again. So it's flicked off its lights again. And we're like, oh my God, what do we actually do? It's just flicked off its lights again. So we're continuing to drive now. And this ute cycles back around and starts following us again. And we, like, know for a fact this time, we're like, okay, this guy is, like, actually following us. It keeps appearing. It keeps trying to find us. And no matter how many times we try to lose it, like, it's kind of like a maze where we are. So it kind of all connects. But it was like we were playing Pac-Man in real life. Like, this man was trying to eat us. Maybe, that sounded wrong. Maybe not eat us, but, like, he was trying to kill us. And he was trying to get to us. And every time he would come close to us, he'd flick off his lights. Every single time. And I remember I'd called up my friend at this point. I was, like, freaking out. I was, like, crying. I think I was crying. I think we were both crying, being like, oh my God, what do we do? He's not stopping following us. This has gone on for, like, an hour, guys. Like, we'd been trying to lose him for an hour. And we eventually lose him. And we're like, okay, maybe we can go stargaze now. Don't know why we thought it would be a good idea after we were just being freaking followed to go try stargaze. That was our original plan as to why we went out there, because no light pollution and all that. But we were like, okay, let's go onto the main road and we'll kind of, like, drive like 2 minutes away and we'll go to this place. I just remember the street. It was a crematorium. Is it called a crematorium? Where they cremate the bodies. I remember there was that at the end of the street, and we're like, that's probably why this area is so creepy. And we drove to this no-through road, which it was on. And at the bottom, it was like a hill. So there's like a hill where we were. And at the bottom of the hill, there was an intersection. And if you go up the hill onto this road, it's a dead end. So we decided to go up this dead end road. But on the hill, you can like look down and still see the intersection. It wasn't a very big hill, but you can see what's down there and you can see what's at the end of the road. So we decided to get out of the car and we're like, okay, this is so cute. This is so cool. We can stargaze. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And we're like looking around and we noticed, like, I think it's been like 10 minutes at this point. And we look down to the intersection and we see the car. We literally see the ute turning into the street. It had its indicator on to go up to the street where we were. And we were like, oh my fucking God, we're about to die. Like, we are actually about to die. So we like turn to look at it. I don't know why I face this way. I know you guys on the podcast can't see me, but I've got the camera rolling. And I turn this way and we like look down and we're like, where did it go? And then just as we think that, a van, I think it was a van, it was like this big white van just like speeds past us on the road, like from behind us. The no-through road, I don't know why it was there or where it came from. We didn't see any van. We could see what was there. It just sped past us and we screamed because we're like, holy fuck, like what was that? Like where did that come from? So our attention like went from the car to the van, and then we turned back after the van left and we're like, where did the car go? And then we're like, oh my God, like it's actually gone. So that maybe wasn't the car, like it wasn't that one. Maybe we're just like getting in our own heads. So I was like trying to calm her down and she's like, no, like I see someone down there. I think I see someone walking up here. And I could kind of see movement down there, but I was like, oh no, it's fine. Like our eyes are probably playing tricks on us. Like we're probably like hallucinating because it's dark or whatever. And we're like stressed out. Our energy's high. So I was like, it's fine. It's nothing. So we continue to like just like look up for like 2 more minutes, and then I start to hear like rustling in the bushes, and so does she. So we like grab each other and we're like, oh my God, what was that? And we're like pausing and trying to look down there, and like we can't see anything. It is pitch black. There are no lights around us. Like in the street there is absolutely zero light. And we're looking down and we start to hear this person walking through the bushes, and we can kind of hear some noise, and we're like, oh my God, the guy's like coming for us right now. Like this guy is gonna get us. So we run back to the car, like we were not that far away, but we like ran and we screamed because we started to hear a man's voice coming through the bushes at us, and then it yelled at us. Like I don't know what it said, like to this day I don't remember what he said, but he yelled at us, and then we hear the footsteps like through the grass, and we're like, holy fuck, like we're about to die, we're about to get kidnapped. So we run to the car. We are like shaking. We get inside. We like lock the door and we just like speed off. Like she gets in the driver's seat and we just like go. Maybe I was in the driver's seat. I don't actually remember, to be honest. But we go. We are like crying. There are tears down our face. Like we are that scared, like terrified, because we thought we were just about to be grabbed by this guy. Like, guys, I cannot stress to you how scary this was in that moment. And we're like driving. We go back to the service station where my car is. And we sit there like in the cars and we're just like waiting. We're terrified. We're literally like petrified little like Bambies, petrified little deers, I meant to say, but it came out as Bambi. And we end up just sitting there for about half an hour, and we see the ute slowly enter the car park, and like he's like looking around. It's like a man in there. He's like looking around and he's just like slowly going through like all the cars. And we're like, oh my fucking God, like that's the guy. We start like freaking out and crying. But thankfully he does just like go past, like really slowly though, but he goes past, and we didn't end up seeing him again. So we end up staying where there was like heaps of light and heaps of people, because we were like way too freaked out to go back there. And I never saw that girl again. For good reason. Like I'm with my girlfriend now, who I love so much. But that was probably one of the scariest dates that I've ever been on. Like physically scary. Not because she was creepy. She was fine, but it was terrifying, guys. It was so scary. It was so scary. But yeah, I'll probably wrap up this episode because it's been 20 minutes. Thank you guys so much for listening to these 2-date horror stories. If you want to hear more horror stories, let me know, and I'm sure I'll make this a series. I'm kind of just rambling about anything at this point in these podcasts, but thank you so much for listening, and I will be back with another episode so soon. Thanks, guys.